build a permitted extension or apply for planning permission? What's the best? Are you considering extending your home, but you're worried that what you want to do won't get planning permission? Many homeowners restrict their extension to fit within permitted development so that they don't have to worry about getting approval. But around 200,000 household applications are decided in a typical year, and about 90% of these are approved. So the question is, should you limit yourself to permitted development, or should you build what you really want and seek planning permission? That's what we're going to look at in this video, and I'm going to give you the questions you need to consider to help you decide what's best for you. Stick around to the end and you'll find a bit more about what's included in permitted development. So first of all, not everyone has permitted development rights. Sadly, in some situations, you don't have a choice. If you live in a conservation area or an area with special protections, or your house is a listed building, then you don't have permitted development rights. I know, it's really sad. If you want to make changes to your house that are visible externally, even if they're not a change of use, then you have to apply for planning permission in this case. And for listed buildings, this includes internal changes as well, which would require listed building consent, either as well as or instead of planning permission. If you don't submit a planning application and do the building work anyway, then you run a risk. You can be fined. You might have to demolish what you've built and then rebuild what you had before. There are insurance policies that you can take out to help with the costs of that risk, but do you really want to take that risk, even if you can protect yourself from some of the costs of like the demolition and the rebuilding work? It's still a lot of disruption to go through a building project once, never mind twice, if you're going to be forced to reinstate. So the question you need to ask is, do you have permitted development rights for your property? If you don't have permitted development rights, don't worry. You do still have choices. You can choose to only make internal alterations, unless it's a listed building, like I said, or you can design it well to maximize your chances of approval and then submit a planning application. Or if you don't want to do that yourself, or don't have the skills, or don't feel confident that you can do it, then you can get an architect like me. I'm a chartered architect and I specialize in alterations to existing homes, especially historic ones. And so me or an architect like me could design it and submit your planning application for you. Another thing to think about is that permitted development has limitations. Even if you have permitted development rights, you can't just build anything you want to. You can watch my planning playlist to find out more details on what's permitted. That's linked in the description box. But in summary, you can only build up to specific sizes in limited locations and using the same material as your existing building. And this means that you may end up having to compromise on what you really want. And then you can end up spending tens of thousands on a permitted development extension and end up not really satisfied with what you got, having gone through all the hassle and the time and energy and, of course, the cost of getting that built. And that's a real shame when you could have got what you really wanted, and possibly for a similar cost and not much more hassle, if any. So the question to ask yourself is it really worth limiting yourself and making a lot of compromises and ending up not entirely happy with the results by sticking with only what's allowed with permitted development? And if you don't want to compromise and you know that what you want wouldn't fit within permitted development rights, then you do need to get it well designed and submit a planning application. If you've got a clear idea of what you want to do and you'd like me to check for you if what you want is within permitted development, then you can book a paid consultation call with me using the link in the description box below. And if this video is helping you with making the right decisions for your project, then feel free to click the like button below and don't forget to subscribe for lots more useful videos. I'm all about creating videos that help you to get the best home for you in a way that creates more ease and pleasure and harmony for you in your life. So you don't have to build to the maximum permitted development limits. When you focus on what's permitted, then you may end up building way more than you really need to be able to get your home just right for you. I know that when your neighbours are all extending their homes within permitted development, it can feel like you have to do it too, but you really don't. You don't have to extend your home at all if that's not the best solution for you. I often help my clients to look at alternatives, and for often it can be better to simply internally reconfigure the space or to extend with a much smaller extension, or in some cases we actually have a solution that involves just demolishing a bit of the house. I know that seems counterintuitive, but that can actually create a more open and spacious feel to your home. It depends on the situation and what is the best solution for you, what you're looking for from your home. When you extend your home to the max, then you're going to pay possibly a lot more than you need to and not necessarily achieve the home that really works well for you. The cost of a permitted extension is not really any different to the cost of a different extension of a similar size that suits you better. But with that more bespoke solution, you'll get more of what you need and what you want than you would with a generic permitted development extension. For example, you might end up losing more of your garden than you really want to, or not liking the way your house looks, or not having the extra space you need where you really need it. So yes, you might spend a little bit more time and money on the design and on the planning process to get a really good design and to get approval for that. But when you look at the cost and time of design and planning in relation to the cost of construction and the time that you're going to live in your home for, then this difference works out to be relatively minimal, but you end up with a more bespoke home, not a generic solution, and that can make a huge difference to the quality of your life. That's important. I'm all about helping you live a high quality life and having a home that really helps you to do that. So what you can do is instead of focusing on what's the maximum permitted development, what's the most that I could build within permitted development, instead focus on what you really need and really want. And you might be surprised to find that you don't need to extend at all, or everything you want can be achieved with internal changes, or you may need to extend more or differently to the permitted development limits. To do this, get very clear on what you really need and want from your home so you can live your best life. And I help my clients to do this with my unique Eagle method. Comment below Eagle method if you'd like me to make a video that explains what that is. So a couple of things for you to consider here are you really clear on what you truly need and want? So some indications, if you're looking for an expert to tell you what you should do, or you find yourself saying that you don't really know what you want, but you'll know when you see it, then you do have some work to do on this, and you'll find my free Design Your Home Vision checklist really useful. You'll find a link for that below. So the next thing to consider is the difference between enjoying your home fully and feeling satisfied that it is what you really need and want worth spending a little bit extra in time and money, or would you rather skimp on the design fees, stick to a generic design, and risk the potential that you're going to feel vaguely dissatisfied and frustrated every day with your home and the compromises that you had to make. Now, it's possible that once you're really clear on what you really need and want, that the generic permitted development options are going to meet your needs and wants, and that's fine if that is right for you. But the key thing is getting your home right for you, whether that is permitted development or whether it's not. You get to choose. Then you might be thinking, well, what about extended permitted development? Yes, there is permitted development, and then there are bigger limits known as extended permitted development. And here's the thing though, extended permitted development means that you still have to submit an application to the planning department. There's no guarantee of success, even though there is a presumption in favour. So you're potentially more likely to get permission. But if your neighbours object, you won't get permission. So you could see it as a slightly lower risk of not getting approval, but there's no guarantee. It's just the same as with a normal planning application. You still have to submit the application. You still have to wait for a decision to be made, and that decision might be no. And in some ways, I feel like this is the worst of all options, because you have to do all the same work as if you were submitting a planning application. You have the same costs, a similar timescale, but you also have limitations on what you can do, like with permitted development. So you don't have the freedom that you would have if you just design what you really need and want and then submit a planning application for that. You're still restricted in what you can do. So if you're thinking you might want to build a bigger version of permitted development, the extended version, the question to consider is, are your neighbours likely to object? And would you get a better home if you have more freedom over your design than even permitted development or extended permitted development allows you? I imagine that this video has answered a few questions for you, but may have also raised a few more. And you're going to find that the videos that I've been creating that show you more about what is allowed within permitted development will be useful for you to watch next. You'll see what's limited, what's possible, and be able to decide for yourself if those limits are acceptable to you or not. You can watch the first video of my permitted development series in the video shown on your screen, and the playlist for all my videos on planning permission is also shown here on screen. You might know which one. One's the video, one's the playlist, and they're here to help you find them easily. Bye for now.